My experience is I've been an entrepreneur for 37 years, and I'm beginning to think it's going to work. And I have a dry English sense of humor, but I got it because I was born in England of English parents. My education is I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Arizona, and I majored in accounting. I owned my own CPA firm for 31 years. All of my clients were small entrepreneurial business owners like me. I, on average, had 15 employees. And I sold that in January of 2020. And I started taking coaching classes in 2000. And I'm a master certified coach through the International Coaching Federation. If you don't know what that is, that credential is the most advanced professional coaching credential in the world. It took me 18 years to get it. And I also wrote a book in '01 entitled From Egopreneur to Ultrapreneur. And it's still on Amazon, and it's all about helping my clients, which they insisted that I wrote the book. I didn't want to write it, but it really keeps each individual person true to themselves. In other words, there's a framework that came out of it, and it tells you whether or not the action or the decision you're going to make is authentic to you and will get you to where you say you want to go. So that's what I'm doing now, is coaching and mentoring small entrepreneurial business owners or anybody that's of the same like mind. And I can talk about that. What I do differently, there's a lot of people out there saying that they're going to help their clients and they'll get you to where you want to be. First of all, they give the clients what they want. But how they do that is they have them trained on a one-size-fits-all linear process that holds them accountable, and they tell them what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So I don't give my clients what they want. I give them what they need so they can get what they want. Because if you're going to go from being a follower to being a leader, even if you're just leading yourself, you have to be able to eventually not have somebody tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. So I don't do that. I don't make my clients, I don't train them on a one-size-fits-all linear process. I don't keep them accountable to that linear process. And I don't tell them what to do. Like I said, I have a framework that came out of my book. I help them understand how the framework works, but they fill in the framework authentic to them. So everything in there is unique to each individual business owner or each individual person. I don't tell them what to put in there or how to do it. I help them be able to get the answer from inside of themselves. Because the way that I look at it is, you can have all the plans, you can have all the systems, you can have everything put together. But if it doesn't work here, and it doesn't work here, it's not going to work out there. And that's what I kept finding out when I was working with clients early on in my career. I'd put all these tangible things together, business plans and systems and processes, but eventually they'd get stuck and they wouldn't go forward. And I finally realized that I'd put together plans to evolve the business, but there was no plan to evolve the person, the owner. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 20 some years, is helping people feel confident and competent that they can be their authentic selves and be successful. Well, when I got my CPA firm, at first I was doing CPA work, and at one point I went to this continuing education class, and it was all about the future of the CPA business. It's like a chartered accountant, and the person that was giving the seminar said, there is no future if you don't start working with your clients and get them to where they want to go. And that really resonated with me. So I changed the purpose of my business from creating documents, mostly for third-party compliance purposes, to the purpose of my business was to help my clients reach their dreams and their vision and their goals. And so my CPA business was a tool to help get them there. And then when I started doing coaching and mentoring, as well as consulting, those were other tools that would help my clients get to where they wanted to go. So the thing that I really enjoy the most is when they start getting to where they really want to go and they feel confident and comfortable that they can be their authentic selves, and they just start to really, it's like blossom. They just blossom, and their total authentic self comes out, and they're just so happy and fulfilled, and it's just like life is just surrounding them, instead of feeling like they don't know what to do, or they're stuck, or they're scared, or whatever. So yeah, just helping them get to where they want to go, and it's really helping them get to joy. Well, the thing that I tell my clients is the most important thing you need to know in order to be successful is you. Because I think that the entrepreneurial business is created from the inside out. So whatever's going on inside of you is going to manifest outside of you. So the biggest thing that has stopped people from being successful is trying to be something that they're not. Because somebody trained them that you have to be a certain way, you have to think a certain way, you have to do things a certain way. The only ones that I've seen that have been successful, and success is, not just making money, it's whatever it means to that person. But the only ones that I've seen that have been successful are the ones that finally feel comfortable being their total authentic self. Because that's when they're the most powerful, the most productive, the most positive person they can be. And if they try to be something else, they're not. Entrepreneur is a word that I made up, and I trademarked the word in the United States. And the reason I came up with it is because one of the definitions of ultra is going beyond what is usual and ordinary. And that's the kind of business my clients wanted. They didn't want just to create a business that made money, and they may hate working in it. They just made money the driving factor. So going beyond the usual and ordinary meant to my clients having a more purpose-driven and a more lifestyle-driven business, so that they can enjoy every day being in their business, and they weren't just working hard to make money, to sell it, and then do what they wanted to do. They were actually doing it the whole time they were working in the business. So that's what the entrepreneur is. Well, the biggest mistake is not being their authentic self. But I think the biggest thing that people have to get over is it's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen overnight, because it's a journey, and the destination is the journey, and that's all about you learning about who you are, what's important to you, and why. So if you try to jump over certain steps and try to do it as fast as you can and try to do it in a way that isn't you, you're going to end up creating something you don't like. I saw so many people create, instead of an ideal business day, they created a nightmare for themselves, and they couldn't wait to sell it because they hated what they were doing. Well, I grew up in England, and until I was 7, I was in the English school system. And at that time, when I was in the English school system, at 11 years old, you had to take a test called the 11 plus. And depending on how you graded on that test, you went to certain schools. If you tested high, you went to a school and then you could eventually go to college. If you were like middle of the road, you went to a technical school. And if you did very poorly, you went to a trade school and you got out of school at 14 and went to work as an apprentice. So this was at 11 years old, you took this test. And that determined the rest of your life. Once you were put in one of the categories, you couldn't go to another category. So at 7 years old, my English parents got divorced when I was like 5. My mother then married an American Air Force guy stationed in England. At 7 years old, he took me out of the English school system and moved me to the United States, and I lived on an Air Force base in southern New Mexico for 4 years. Then I went back to England, lived in my hometown, and was bused to an American Air Force Base school. And so I still had friends in my hometown, and I would get together with them on the weekends. I left England again, came back to the United States in 9th grade. In between my junior and summer year, I went back to England and I saw my friends. Most of them had failed the 11 plus. There was one guy that went, he was way up there, and he eventually went to college. But most of them went to work for the 2 shoe factories that were in my hometown. And when I went there that summer, they were 17, 18 years old, and they'd been working for 3 or 4 years. All of them were married. All of them had 1 child, and most of them had 2. And it just freaked me out. I couldn't imagine having the responsibility they had. And they were stuck in this system for the rest of their lives, doing menial work in a shoe factory. And they were totally trapped. I guess the only really good thing was, I don't think they really felt or knew that they were trapped. But I could tell from the outside looking in, wow, are they trapped? And I decided right then and there, I didn't want to be trapped like that, ever in my life. So when I came back to after that summer, I started thinking about, because I was going into my senior year, and I hadn't thought about what I wanted to do. But every decision that I made going forward, I would always think, is this something that's going to trap me? And even though we didn't have the 11 plus in America, people still get trapped. And most of my clients come to me and they are trapped, even if it's trapped with their limiting beliefs. And so I couldn't help my friends in England get untrapped, but I've been helping people not get trapped and stay trapped ever since. So that's why it's really important to me. And I also went to be an entrepreneur because that's the freest place in business you can be in the United States.
Right.
So when I owned my own businesses, as I have, I determined what I did, when I did it, and how I did it. I think I've learned a lot of things that through experiences that were pretty hard. You know, they were very challenging. I learned early on that when a really big challenge comes up, I'm ready to take it on. I have a lot of courage, and I didn't know I had that. And so I would make decisions that were based on the things that the other experiences that I'd had in my life, and then I'd taken from those experiences. And I guess if I want to say the toughest thing was realizing that even if it seemed like at the time that those experiences weren't something that I felt like was a win, and it was a lose, that when I had a bigger perspective of it, it really wasn't a lose. It really was a win. Because if I hadn't learned this thing here, I would never have gotten to here. And that the whole journey so far has been that. But when you're just looking at something with a very, very narrow time frame, you may look at it and go, and this is something I work with my clients about, is you may look at it and go, well, it's not going to work. I'm a failure. It's not working the way it should be. And then you get really down on yourself. But when you have a broader perspective, you realize that you had to learn what happened then, or you wouldn't get to where you want to go. And the other thing is, I think everybody can get to where they want to be. But it's probably not going to happen the way you think it's going to happen. My best advice is to get somebody to help them that knows what they're doing. But there's a lot of people that say they know what they're doing, but there's a lot of people out there that are just trying to make money. I mean, I'm sure I could have made a lot more money in my career thus far, but I really wanted to help people not be trapped and all the things that I've talked about. So I think, talk to them. What's their background? What's their education? What's their experience? Who have they helped? What have they helped them do? Talk to some of their clients and just really, find out what's going on, because there's marketing and advertising is very different than actually doing things, right? I mean, marketing, advertising is trying to get people all excited about you, but it's not necessarily real. Like there's a lot of people that say, hey, I can get you to 7-8 figures a year in no time. My question to them is, if you can do that, why are you still working? Well, I think that, when I started working with entrepreneurs, and became one. Well, for my industry, which is now coaching and mentoring, when I started taking coaches in 2000, nobody knew what coaching was. Very few people had coaches or mentors, and the consultants usually only worked with big companies. So getting a consultant to work with a small company wasn't very cost effective. Now there's all these people, everybody's a coach, even though, they don't even know what professional coaching really is. Everybody, when the pandemic happened, we had a lot of people that got laid off from their job. They couldn't get another job, and they decided they were gonna, and they were at home, and so they decided they were going to help people get places. So you've got people that say they're life coaches, and they took a 6-week course, and they're 20 years old. How are they going to help you with your life? They barely have a life themselves. Like I said, it took me 18 years to get the credential I got in coaching. So that's a big challenge, because the general public doesn't know that there are differences. So you've got, on one end of the spectrum, professional coaches and mentors and consultants that can work with smaller companies. On the other side, you got people that just go out in their front yard and go, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant. And they don't know that, and then there's everything in between that are basically just trying to get money from it. Now, the way I got clients most of my career was going to networking events. And I was one of the only consultants, mentors, coaches that would go there. And so it was easy for me to get clients. After the pandemic, there's just flooded with those kind of people, all across the spectrum. And then a lot of, there's a difference between a startup, a small business, and an entrepreneur. And a lot of people don't understand that either. They're not the same. They're all very different. And so what works with one isn't going to work with the other two, and all the way across. Startups, to me, the majority of startups that I have encountered have been, let me tell you briefly the difference between the three. Startups that I've encountered are mostly people that are maybe doing an app that just systemizes something that already exists. So they're pretty much a technician. A small business owner is usually somebody that takes over something that already exists and manages it, but isn't in total control or in total charge of it, like a franchise. It's already set up, they've got all the systems and everything, and then somebody buys it and they just manage it. But there's somebody above them that tells them, okay, we're not, like if they get a fast food franchise, okay, we're not going to sell this anymore. Now you have to push this sandwich or whatever. So they're a manager, but they're still not in control. An entrepreneur and the ultimate goal of the entrepreneur is to be able to do what they want to do, when they want to do it, and how they want to do it. So typically they're doing everything. They've got nobody telling them what to do. If they want to change something, they just decide to change it and they do it. So they've got the most freedom. Sometimes they have to be a technician, sometimes they have to be a manager, but sometimes they have to be a technician, manager, and a leader. But if they're not a leader, somebody else is going to take over that company, that business. So those are the differences. So, because when I started working with entrepreneurs, startup meant the first couple of years that you were in business. Most of the startups now have some kind of app or something, some kind of product. It's more of a product than a service that they want to scale very quickly, and investors will invest in it to scale it very quickly, and then they want to sell it and make money and then go on to something else. So money is the driver. In a small business, it's about having security and having something that's already proven, and they just go in and work in it and manage it. Entrepreneur, the most important thing to them is independence. They want to be able to do what they want to do, when they want to do it, and how they want it. The only thing I would add is, I think I'm very different in helping people become successful. For example, I had one client, and this will give you a good example. He was a financial planner, okay? And he came to me, he said, Nigel, I haven't reached my numbers in the last 2 years. If I don't reach them this year, I'm going to go out of business. Now think about what you would say if somebody came up and said that to you. Most people would have said, well, what are you doing now? Let's see if we can tweak it. Let's see if we can make it work better for you. What I said to him was, what's the most fun thing you do in your business? No, the most fun thing you do in your life. And he said, well, the most fun thing I do in my life is when my wife and I go to different countries and we help people in different countries. We build houses, we put together water systems, and we just make their life better. And it's just really fun to see that we can help people like that. And when he started talking about it, he got more excited and animated, and you could tell he was just having fun just talking about it. And I said, how many times a year do you do that? And he said, 1, maybe twice a year. I said, well, when are you the most productive in your business? And he said, right before I go on those trips, because I get a bunch of things done, because then I know I'm going to go and have fun. And I said, I want you to go back to your office, and I want you to set a trip every month for the next 12 months. And after thinking about it for a while, he did that. And in 12 months, he tripled his business. Because the only time he was productive was right before he went on those trips. So that's me connecting how that person works naturally to making them successful.